Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Hi, hello. My name is Loey. I have been in the midst of a pesky bedroom remodel ever since I came home from staying for a few months with my friend Eleanor. And since I moved back home, so did my haunted doll Fancy. And as I was cleaning up my room, I saw her and I'm kind of still trying to figure out where I want to put her. I kind of want her to go back here on this shelf so you guys can see her in every single video. I realized that there's a lot I haven't updated you guys on with Miss Fancy. So I thought that in today's video, we would do a haunted doll update because oh boy, is Miss Fancy indeed haunted. I can honestly say that she is the first haunted doll object I think I've ever had in my possession where there is no question, to me at least, about the validity of her haunting. Before we get into today's video, I want to thank the sponsors of today's video, Cove. You guys probably know if you've been on my channel at all during 2020 that I am taking my health this year very, very seriously. Definitely just focusing more on myself, what my body is lacking, what I need. And one of those areas of my life that I really wanted to tackle was my migraines. Any of my friends can attest to this. I get the worst migraines. Horrible, painful, debilitating migraines that take me out for an entire day. And that is where today's sponsor comes into play. Cove provides affordable, personalized care to people who suffer with migraines, just like yours truly. The licensed doctors that work with Cove understand that migraines are not just headaches. They understand how serious and debilitating that they are, and they are committed to helping customers prevent and treat them. Something I didn't know until I started using Cove was that 70% of migraine sufferers are women, with people who have menstrual cycles being at higher risk for menstrual migraines due to hormone changes. Like I said, my migraines are debilitating and will take me out for days, so I feel very thankful and hopeful in finding Cove. For the first time in a really long time, I've had a lot more migraine-free days than I have in years. So to use Cove properly, you just do a 15-minute online consultation so that they have a better understanding of your migraines and how they impact you. From there, Cove doctors recommend a plan for you and you can modify that plan, discuss it with them, so on and so forth before anything is finalized. Once your treatment plan is approved, Cove will then deliver your treatment to your home on a monthly basis so you never have to worry about running out. And while they do not currently accept insurance, most Cove patients only pay between $20 to $40 a month. Something that has really changed the game for me in terms of preventing my migraines is their product Beam. I actually have some mix up right here in a water bottle. All you do is take one of the sachets that they provide and pour it into between 8 and 10 ounces of water. Ingredients in Beam such as magnesium and CoQ10 have been clinically proven to reduce migraine frequency and severity. It's also just a nutritional supplement in one of those little packs that I showed you that you pour right into water. Cove knows that migraines are not just a headache, and that's why they provide personalized and affordable care to their customers at home. To get started with your online consultation, go to withcove.com/LoeyLane to receive 50% off of your first month's migraine medication as well as free 2-day shipping. Thanks again to Cove for sponsoring today's video and kicking my migraines in the butt for me. And now let's talk a little bit about the queen herself, Miss Fancy. Okay, I am so excited to chat with you guys today about Miss Fancy. It has been, I guess, like a month or so since my initial video on her. Let's start off with the obvious. I spent about 2.5 hours one night being very, very careful, taking a cloth and some cleaner. I tested out different cleaners on her, made sure that the one that I ended up using did not end up peeling her paint any more than it already is. I cleaned her up thoroughly. I disinfected her. She got a new dress from Amazon. I'm really hoping she can find some shoes or some tights at the very least to protect the paint on her legs and maybe a little bonnet. A lot of you guys said in the comments of my original haunted doll video showing Fancy for the first time that you could really like feel the connection that we had, or that attachment. And it could have totally just been the fact that like in that video I did say over and over again that I was so attached to her that I never wanted to put her down. She was still so grubby from when I initially got her, sorry miss thing, but it is true, and I was just obsessed. I didn't care. She was like the light of my universe, and that certainly has not changed, but I do take into account that that could have influenced some people into thinking that we had this very close connection, this really close bond. But what I will say is, since I've had her for a while, I haven't felt that like intense need to be with her every 10 seconds the way that I was at first. And at first I really felt like she was doing whatever she could to get my attention 24/7, to the point where I was not scared, but definitely, I guess, a bit concerned. One of the most standout moments of this, aside from just constantly feeling very anxious when I wasn't with her, feeling like I needed to be with her like every 5 seconds, like I said, one of the biggest examples was one night when I was sleeping. I awoke, I want to say around like 4 in the morning, no 3 a.m. spooky, scary story wake up time. It definitely was after 3, but like before like 6, like the sun was still out. The sun was out. The moon was alive. The sun was not out, okay? It was dark outside, Jesus Christ. And I had Fancy on the couch, basically next to the bed in the Airbnb that I was renting. And I had her over there just because I didn't want to roll over on top of her, like chip away any more of her paint. I've been trying to be very delicate with her as much as I can, while also being with her 24/7. So I awoke this night, really in the morning, in the early hours of the morning, to find that the light, the porch light outside of my room was flickering on and off. Now, the problem with this was I went to sleep, obviously, earlier in the night and did not have that porch light on. The porch was on the like basement level where I was. It was like this little patio backyard thing in this Airbnb. And I would have been able to see the porch light had it been on. However, it wasn't, because I know that I went to sleep without it on, and the flickering of it was enough to wake me up. And I knew pretty much immediately that it was in fact Fancy. I went over, turned the light switch off. It had been turned on. It wasn't like somebody was sitting there like flicking the light switch on and off, but the light literally was like flashing on and off outside on the porch. So I went over, switched it off, and I just knew it was her. I knew it was her. Like, listen, I'm alone over here. You are still asleep. Basically like a little kid kind of throwing a tantrum. I love you, but it's true. So I basically didn't even say anything, didn't even think anything of it, turned off the light, scooped her up, took her to bed, slept until like 8:39 when I woke up. However, I had been staying at the Airbnb for a pretty long time at this point, several weeks, and this had never happened before. The lights had not come on in the middle of the night, anything like that. It was basically within like Fancy's first few nights with me that this occurred, and it was like one of the first nights that I kind of had tried to pry myself away from her a bit, just because I felt overwhelmed by the connection. I feel these really like intense, and I know I said this in my last video, like maternal instincts towards this doll that I simply never knew I had. But like I said, it's definitely calmed down the longer that she's been with me. We definitely spend like daily time together just doing various things. Obviously she has a new dress. I will say once that happened, any kind of anxiety that I felt around her, like being away from her, basically just started to dissipate. I felt like she was slightly happier, and that could of course be me projecting that onto the doll, but I did feel like the new dress was something that I really wanted to give her. I feel like she's probably more pleased to be nice and clean. When I was still living with Eleanor, we took a mini road trip for the weekend to go stay at a different Airbnb. Because of COVID-19, travel isn't exactly like a thing anymore, but basically we've been packing up and going to various Airbnbs and kind of just staying home and hanging out. And I had just gotten my new car, and I didn't really want to bring Fancy on the trip. The car was packed full of various bags and things, and I didn't want something toppling over on top of her. I didn't want her sitting in the new car all by herself, or anything like that. So I ended up leaving her at our Airbnb, the one that we had as our apartment in Virginia. And it was fine. I wasn't too worried about it. Like I said, this like insane anxiety around wanting to be with her 24/7 had kind of started to dissipate at this point. Definitely still really enjoy spending time with her, but I didn't feel nearly as anxious as I initially did. So I left her in Virginia, sitting on the like entertainment center, essentially, next to the TV and all sorts of other things. I left her sitting right there, and I had had her there for days basically leading up to this, just because I felt like I would come in there in the morning and I would eat my cereal on the couch, and that would be like my fancy time. I'd talk to her and tell her about my day and whatever. And she had been sitting there totally still. There's a point to this, by the way. She had just been sitting there totally still, totally fine, propped up against this entertainment center, sitting on top of the entertainment center, but propped against the wall for days at this point. And when I came home from my weekend trip, she was laying on top of the entertainment center. So she had been sitting like so. She was now, her legs were fully stretched out, and she was laying down, and one of her arms was moved in the air in a way that I certainly had not left it before, and nobody had been at this apartment for 3 days. So certainly thought that was weird as well. And those are kind of the big physical things. I would say that the light flickering thing in the middle of the night that I decided not to sleep with her in my bed, was the biggest one, and it kind of like freaked me out the most. And then her moving while nobody was at the apartment all by herself was more impressive than anything. I was just like, okay girl, like, I see you. And since I've gotten back to Georgia, she's kind of just been hanging out on my dresser, on my desk. I'm remodeling this entire room. Sorry for the wires and random stuff everywhere. I am still figuring out what I want to do with this room. Obviously, I have a new bed and everything, but I have just been moving her wherever I wasn't cleaning, essentially. So she hasn't really had a proper space. I would spend like a ton of time with her here. Nothing crazy has really occurred since I got home. However, I do think I had a dream about her, and this could absolutely just be me dreaming a very normal dream, but it was, I guess, just odd. In this dream, a girl in Fancy's new dress, this was still at the last place, by the way, like in my last few days of being there, I was just going through like my routine in this dream, just like doing errands, going around town, just doing whatever I would do IRL. It was a very boring dream. However, there was this little girl in Fancy's new dress that I had just gotten her at this point, with really long, like curly, actually very similar to this wig, but more like ringlets, long curly brown hair, and like these huge brown eyes, just with me constantly. And I didn't really even question it. I didn't even speak to her. I didn't think about it. But in the dream, nobody would acknowledge her except for me. She was just with me no matter what. And I awoke from that dream just feeling very like, that was totally Fancy, even though I had never said her name. She had never even spoken to me. She never opened her mouth. Like, I wish there were more juicy details of the dream so I could be like, yeah, it was crazy. She spoke to me. But it wasn't like that. She was just there in the dream. And I woke up and just had this feeling so concretely that it was her, because that's so her energy to me right now. She really doesn't make much of a fuss or throw a ton of tantrums, or she doesn't make herself even known that frequently. That's why the things like the lights and her moving on her own were so startling, because it's not like that most of the time. It more so is just like this very calm, quiet, sweet presence that I feel like is with me all the time, that constantly wants to be reassured and just wants to be with me. I do feel like we have gotten very accustomed to each other. Fancy is, I think, the first spirit I've ever lived with in my life where I've so openly wanted her to stay. Why does that make me so emotional? Like, she's the first ghost, spirit, anything that I've invited in and asked to stay with me, and that I have no intentions of asking to leave ever. We're on a lifelong journey together, this girl and I, and we've been having a lot of fun together so far. It has been not sad, just interesting seeing her develop, I think, over time, and becoming so much calmer, so much more at peace, seemingly. I still am considering getting a second haunted object, haunted doll, something. A lot of people in the comments, especially, like, I was getting comments from mediums saying, you really need to get her another friend so that you can be her bud and not like her overarching protector mother figure, because she's going to like hang on so tight to you. And I do feel like that's how it felt at first, just this very like tight grip. Nothing scary, nothing malicious, just like scared of being alone, if that makes any sense. And now she feels much calmer. I'm still definitely considering it, and I will ask for her opinion and permission and all of that stuff. It's really weird. I've never felt so connected to an inanimate object in my life, but here we are, and I genuinely cannot imagine my life without her. If you guys know anywhere I can get like shoes her size, also please let me know. This dress was really hard to find, and it's still kind of big on her. I really need to either sew it or pin it or something so it's not quite so big. I want to get her a bonnet, like I said. Something else I've noticed is I think she came from a smoking household, because sometimes I do smell like cigarette smoke around her, and she was clearly a kid when she passed away, so I don't think she was smoking. I think it's actually the doll herself. I lifted her to my face and I realized I could still smell it. I thought it was just on her dress, but I can still smell it sometimes when she's really close to me. Anyway, we're here now in my safe little room where I keep things very cleansed, very protected. I have all my crystals here. I have all of my cleansing stuff. I cleanse this space so regularly. It goes hand in hand with my cleaning routine. Not only because I feel like I'm such a magnet for spirits and energy and all of that stuff, but also just because this house truly is haunted, and I feel like if I don't keep up with cleansing the space and keeping the vibes high, it gets very weird very quick. So hopefully she continues to just settle in, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you today. If you liked the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you very much. Miss Fancy loves you very much. I hope we will see you in an upcoming video. Let me know where you think I should put her in the comments down below. And yeah, any comments, questions, concerns, also comment those. I love you guys very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!